Yo, you in this? You in this? You need to be in this for this one, because this, folks, is a very special end of shift report. This is probably, yeah, I'm not even gonna leave you in suspense. This is probably the final end of shift report. This is end of shift report right here. Came in today as usual, day like any other day, sitting there doing my thing. And roundabout, I want to say 10:15, a ton of us got an email all at the same time. Schedule change, update to schedule. There will be meetings today. Everybody's like, what the fuck is this about, right? So there were meeting times, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. And it said, you do not need to come in for your shift today or tomorrow. All you have to do is show up for one of these meetings. And this caused a lot of hubbub in the old office, and rumors began right away swirling. And of course, I'm not revealing anything here because I've already told you. Yeah, rumors started straight away, like, oh, we're all getting fired, we're all getting fired. And of course, as you know already, we all got laid off. I shouldn't even say fired. We got laid off. And yeah, so this is the thing. A lot of people left and they're like, well, we'll just come back because we don't have to be here, right? So we'll come back at 1. I live close by, so I could have just strolled home and came back, but I decided to just stick around, kind of hang out in the office, like the very, very empty office. So I was chilling here talking with a few people, and we're making our little hangman's noose. What are we gonna do with our future? Little jokes, that gallows humor, as they call it. And it was a good time. Were some funny things we were talking about. Oh, I told everybody I'd be slanging ass over here on the corner of I-35 and Runberg to try to make ends meet. So yeah, I was just sitting there and I had some time to contemplate, well, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Because this is the thing though, this comes as no surprise to me. I've talked about it before. The office was getting less and less populated. They started taking computers away and all this shit, and the work that they had us doing really felt like we're just biding our time. Like, when's the hammer gonna fall? I knew it was gonna happen at some point, but in the meantime I was enjoying the good wages. So yeah, the time finally came, and fortunately they decided, hey, there's some people hanging out, so why don't we go ahead and have a meeting a little bit earlier so they don't have to sit here and wait longer for this shit. So roundabout, I want to say 11:30, 11:45, we finally get filed in. And of course, before this happened, there are more rumors about, well, everybody wasn't supposed to be getting this email, so some of us might not be getting fired, so don't worry too much. There might be a slim chance of hope that you're not getting axed. And I was not one of those. So we're in this room, about, I want to say 15 to 20 of us, and the outside visitor dudes from the main office, 3 old white dudes in there. I see manila envelopes, packets over on a table, piled up, stacked up, and we're all just waiting. And I guess there were a couple of people in there who were thinking, oh, we're the ones who are saved, we made it. I knew we were not. I was just waiting to see, because this is what it comes down to. Let's get straight to it. The point was, I was talking with one of my friends here, and we joked about severance packages, and we're like, he says, well, shit, we're part-time, so that's the reason why they cut our hours, is so they're not liable to have to give us severance. And it's like, oh shit, you're right, you got a good point. And it's like, god damn it, so why are we even bothering? Why do they even make us have this whole fucking meeting if it's just like, you're fired? Just let us go, man. So I'm sitting in there, it's like, let's get this shit over with, start talking, do your thing. So finally this dude stands up in front of us and he starts talking like, well, as you've heard within the company, and I'm sitting back there, I'm like, speak up. I said it all loud and shit. And so this dude was nervous. Anyway, I don't want to say who he was either, because that might fuck with me legally. But anyway, he begins to explain, like, yes, you all are indeed being let go because of changes in the business. And he got straight to the good shit before we started rioting. And he goes, yes, there will be a severance. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it was good that he said that up front, because he needed that to kind of shield him from the hell that a couple people in there wanted to unleash. I don't know how detailed I should get as far as what it was like in there, like the spirit and the mood and the atmosphere, because you guys probably might be curious, like, well, what's it like to be in a room with people who all know they're about to get fired? What's it like to have that go down and be in the room? Describe it to us. And I don't know if that's interesting or not. Should I try? I'm debating in my head whether or not I should try to do that. In the meantime, you know where I'm stopping at. Good old Dollar General. I'm going to attempt this. It'd probably be a lot more better. Probably be better if I kind of sat and collected my thoughts and did a written piece on this. Give it some, literary flourishments. That's not a word. Flourish. That's not flourish is not the, what is the word I'm looking for? God damn it. Maybe it is flourishes. So anyway, make it prettier, make it nicer. That was the point. But I'm gonna try to, on my little stretch here for the rest of the way, try to get into what it's like to be in a room of people that are getting laid off. So yeah, the main dude who's talking to us, he was really, like, you could hear the quavering in his voice. He started off talking super low, and he says, well, as you can tell, there've been something, speak up. That was me. So he continues, like, oh, sorry about that. So he keeps talking about, hey, the business is changing, so you've probably already heard that we are letting you guys go. And then a guy in the back goes, who are you? And the guy, yeah, he was so nervous he hadn't even introduced himself to begin with. And he's like, oh shit, oh yeah. So he introduces himself, and then he begins to explain, he came out the gate, of course, like I said, he's talking about the severance, and he went into details about that. So that was a way for him to kind of get a bit of relief of the tension in the room, because once he said that, people were like, all right, because honestly, none of us were expecting that. So that was right off the bat a good way for him to get things rolling. He then proceeded to go over the details of what we would find inside of our packets, agreements to sign and everything. They actually did a great job of giving us a little packet there, because people were asking questions like, what about unemployment? And it's like, hey, we got this employment handbook in here for you. Somebody asked, well, what about my health care? And it's like, hey, all the health care stuff is in detail in here, but we can talk about it later. Somebody, wanted to reiterate, like, when we're going to get our money, essentially, for that severance, and talked about that. And there's another dude, he's like, look, man, I got shit going on with my apartments. Can y'all write something up for me, or give me a letter or something, like, to let them know legitimately that I'm not working here anymore, because I'm not trying to get fucked with. And sure enough, man, they had a, official letter of termination in there for us to show anybody if we needed to. So they had it pretty well covered, which now I'm thinking about it, probably means that they're used to firing a bunch of people. So it's like, we got this firing game down pat, son. We done it so much. And that's fucked up. Anyway, so yeah, once I heard the severance thing, I was good. People had asked a couple questions that I mentioned before, and then towards the end, you could tell the guy was kind of done talking. He was thinking of stuff to say, and I just said, where's the pens? because we didn't have any pens. Because it's like, I'm ready to sign this shit and get the fuck out of here, you know. We're just like, where's the pens? Which got a standing ovation. It killed. I'm just kidding. But anyway, you got a couple people, of course, where we got to get some indignance in here. We got to make sure that our displeasure is known and that we're going to stand up to, you know, the corporate entity. So we had a couple people. This is the thing. We got this huge office, and a little bit after the time that we got that email, I was talking about around 10:15 or whatever, these security guards start showing up and posting up by the doors and everything. And thumb codes are no longer working, so people have to get let in. People are not supposed to be going outside the building, in and out and all this shit. And so these security guards are just sitting around there. And so one lady was like, I felt really disrespected. Like, we're adults here. Why are you guys have these security guards? Like, we're just gonna start wiling out and everything. So that was a bit of a tense moment, because she was like, she was interested. She's like, I felt disrespected. Like, we're adults, you don't do that, right? And the dude was like, yeah, my bad. That was my decision. I didn't know how this was gonna go. So, you know, better safe than sorry, pretty much, right? And then there's this other guy, bless his heart, because this is the thing. I think I've said this is the thing too many times today. So, they had us do recently this complicated ass background check, and it was a government background check. So they were basically asking for like tons of information going back 7 years, like all the addresses, employer, all that shit. Worse than any application you've ever done before, believe me. Just asking for a ton of shit. So pretty much everybody has done this whole application process, and some of us that are getting cut, it's like we were done with the process. And so this guy was one of those where he did it and it got kicked back because they needed us to change something that wasn't even necessarily our fault on the background checks. And this guy's like, this is my time to let y'all have it. He's like, well, what's the status of my background check then? Since I went through all that trouble, how do I find that out? He goes, you know, how do I know my information is safe? It's been sent to the government. They have hard copies here, which is very valid because they did have us write out hand copies and to turn in. So those need to be destroyed. But yeah, this dude was not letting it go. He was very, very determined to stick a thorn in this dude's side. And I'm just sitting there at this point like, God damn it. Can I just get this packet and get the fuck out of here? But he kept going for a while, and finally the main dude says, look, we can get with you personally. There's emails and everything, there's contacts, but we'll get it worked out with you, all right? So finally, they start handing out pens, and you know, we fill out our shit to acknowledge that everything is in our packets and everything. So, got my packet, and I heard there was pizza in the break room, having a little laid-off pizza party. So I went out there, got me a couple slices, and we're all talking about what's gone down and everything, commiserating and all that. But we're all basically relieved that we even got a severance. So that was the big talk. The big talk was all the severance stuff, and they started talking amongst themselves about, you know, well, how do we know when we're getting paid and all this stuff, all these questions about it. And I'm like, why are we asking these questions? All we got to do is look in our packet. So I opened up my packet and I looked in the section where it says lump sum, and that lump sum was much, much more than I thought it was going to be. Let's just say I was very pleased with it, to the point where when I looked at it, I was like, okay. And somebody mentioned their shit, and she said something about a certain number or amount I won't go into, and it was lower than mine, and she thought it was much higher than what she was expecting. So I'm like, should I sit on this information? Because mine was like pretty much twice as much as hers, and I'm like, nah, I'm about to stun on these fools before I get out of here. And I'm like, oh wow. And I said something, I can't remember, but it was just a little humble brag segue. And people were like, okay, well, let me see yours then. And so people came over and looked at mine, and they're just like, damn, son. Um, I don't want to get into, I can't get into details, but let's just say this is the situation for the day. When I saw that email and word was going around that we were getting fired, I wasn't freaking out due to the events that happened to me before with the struggle that I was in. I was like, I know I'm gonna be okay, but I still was like kind of stressing, like, well, what am I gonna do to cover the gap from this kitchen job? You know, that's something, but it's not gonna get me to the end of the month. So that's my feels around 10:30, 11 o'clock. Let me tell you, by the time I looked at that lump sum, I should say when I looked at that lump sum, yeah, my mood changed from about to shit my pants to O-ring just as tight as it can get. No worries about any leakage, man. We good. And I said something to that effect in there, and that actually killed. people were people were laughing pretty hard about that. It's like, oh shit, he called the butthole O-ring. So anyway, this is the thing. I got laid off, but on the flip side, the kid is in good shape. Don't worry about him. Actually, with this whole severance deal, um, what can I say? I'm gonna be okay, so I don't have to worry about, will I have rent and all this stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. So, I don't have any big bang ending for you here, but I will say this. Oh, yeah, that was what I forgot. How ironic is it that on yesterday's report, I was talking about how I'm going to be sure that I'm always putting these up on the group page. I'm going to start promoting it more as public and everything. So I'm going to do a better job at these reports for you guys. Next day, boom, laid off. So anyway, the point of it is there'll be something else with Fantastic Tangent. There's got to be. But this is the end of shift reports. Still keep a lookout for Fantastic Tangent though, because this situation is kind of opening up things for me. And yeah, I'm in a good mood. The outcome was much more positive than I can believe. So it's okay, man. And I hope y'all are doing well. Have a good rest of the whatever. If you want to get at the kid, email me, Facebook, Messenger. I would give out my Google number, but that's a bit too much. But anyway, hope you are doing good. Hope you continue to do well. We're gonna be all right. End of shift reports. Peace.